This is the original Firefighter podcast, where we talk about anything you would talk about at the firehouse kitchen table. And sometimes we even talk about fighting fires. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell. Let's get into the show. And welcome back to the show. We've got a great show lined up for you. Phil, how are you doing today? How's it going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, I'm good.
It's another good week.
For those listening and viewing, I think we got some things to talk about. I want to get into some things with you about how do we balance meaningful remembrance with politics of the past? How about when leadership fails, and how do we assign accountability when it's appropriate? And obviously, there's always a need for accountability, especially in the fire service. But when it goes beyond that, in any walk of life, there should be accountability. And so we're going to dive into that a little bit. What role should data play in shaping policy versus the political narratives? And we'll touch on what's going on in D.C. versus Chicago. And then also we've got a conversation to have about the unjoyful Joy Reid and her comments about Elvis. So we got all that to get into. Before we start, I just want to make a good effort here with my good friend Phil. And we want to take a moment and thank our service members in the armed forces. Today is the anniversary of the 13 U.S. service members killed in Abbey Gate in the international airport at Kabul. And this incident was a suicide bombing that killed 13 U.S. service members during the evacuation process. The operations that, most would say was a failure, except for the Biden administration. They would somehow claim it to be a victory, but it was not. If you remember, Phil, there was the famous debate between Trump and Biden, and Biden made the claim that there were no U.S. service people killed during his watch and during his administration. And yet we have these 13 service members lost. So how do we square that one up?
Well, there was a potato in the White House for 4 years.
Right.
And that's how. So, I mean, you would have gotten a more intelligent response from an actual potato.
Right,
but,
right.
That's where we're at right now. So, thankfully, that time is done. We can remember the fallen and actually show them the 11 Marines, 1 sailor, 1 soldier,
right,
that were killed that day. So, yet again, I mean, like you said, thank you for your service to those members, and we salute them, but also thank you to our current servicemen and women, whatever the branch, and also veterans too. So
yeah, it's funny because obviously these are two separate incidents, but under Obama's administration, they had a pretty cataclysmic event where we lost, what was it, the 4 service members killed. I remember at the time, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's being called to the Hill, and her infamous moment where she just, yelled into the microphone saying, what does it matter? What does it matter? It's in the past now. Let's just move on, right? It was just kind of that, and it's funny that's like that. Oh, okay. So the Obama administration and that moment, and then we have the Biden administration, and they don't even acknowledge. He doesn't even acknowledge that these 13 were actually lost under his watch. So I don't know. They kind of have selective memory, don't you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, Obama at the end of his 2 terms stated that his administration and his presidency was one that was not plagued by any bad things that happened, or any controversy or anything like that. It's like, well, I've got a few for you. I mean, Fast and Furious gun running that Eric Holder allowed to happen, which guns were given to really bad people and brought back into this country and killed many Americans. But then the Benghazi affair, like you talked about with Hillary Clinton, which if you pulled up that video and you look at her when she's saying that, I'll just say this: demonic. That's what she is. Demonic. You can tell it in the eyes.
Absolutely.
And you can tell it in her eyes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
For someone who has literally a Clinton body count on the internet with over 50 or 60 names on it, for us to lose those members and those contractors on that incident, when, yet again, they were warned on that day. That day was September 11th too.
It was.
So
you're
it's
right.
one of those things that
Eerie.
Yeah. I
Very
mean,
eerie.
they had the info, they chose to do nothing, nothing for those people. How do you have a forget his position, ambassador, um, to that and had,
Yeah, yeah,
just a few DHS members with him as his security
yeah,
forces. Really great movie on it, 13
13
hours.
hours. Yeah, great, good movie. Yeah, for
And,
sure.
unfortunately, those surviving members that were part of that incident.
It's funny how the movies get made with particular accuracy, but the politicians that make the policy forget what they did. It's kind of weird,
Yeah,
you know?
that's we're rewriting history. You know,
Yeah,
just it's like everything. You look at
yeah.
Wikipedia, things change. It's really weird. Oh, this newest thing was updated August of 2025. Weird how it's been one way for so long, and now it's changing the course of history just
When
by
I
a
yeah, very
stroke
exactly.
of a keyboard.
What I think is always kind of interesting, and we've talked about this in past episodes, and we're going to touch on we're going to revisit what's going on in Los Angeles in a little bit. But you know, the fire service, we could never operate where you have a particular operation go very badly, and obviously things like the Abbey Gate incident and Benghazi, these are international incidents, right? They rise to a very high level, which is again in itself, it's crazy how many people touch these types of operations, and yet everyone has amnesia. But in the fire service, it's like you bring it down to our level. Like you could never operate and have a poorly executed operation, and then just be like, yeah. Actually, you know what? It didn't really happen like that. Or I don't even know that it really happened at all. We would never be able to just walk away from that. We would never just be able to look the other way and say, yeah, we don't really acknowledge that that even happened. I mean, we're constantly digging in to our operations and looking at ourselves and saying, okay, there are definitely things that we could do better on the fire ground. There's things that we could do that we did do well, and we're going to make strides to improve and things of that nature. But what my point is that we are always looking at ourselves, and I would say pretty openly for the most part. Sometimes, maybe we're not, and it is hard for human beings to look at failures, and sometimes it's hard for people to accept that responsibility and that blame for themselves. Some people want to put that onto other people, but I do think that the fire service is pretty good at doing after action reviews, post incident, reflection of what went right, what went wrong, things of that nature. It's just crazy that we can't get that at our state and federal levels.
I think it's about oversight. I mean, when we have a line of duty death or a fatality, the amount of oversight that comes in from the
Absolutely.
local, state, federal,
Hmm.
doing those reviews and after action reports on those things. But when you make the rules, there's a lot less oversight, and you don't have to comply as much with oversight. So I mean, we see it now with people in positions of power refusing to go testify in front of Congress or using certain immunities. I mean, Trump even did it himself. So, I mean, hold him accountable there. But one could also say with that type of thing, it was politics, it was political there. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's oversight. So in
But
the
it
fire
always is
service, we do
politics.
have that. Well, not
But
I mean, not in the
well,
fire
what I'm saying
service,
is,
right?
no, it is no. But when we just touched on how we are going to talk about what's going on in Los Angeles, and the axing, the firing of the fire chief there. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking about a cataclysmic fire event that happened on the West Coast. There was many agencies that were involved. There were many high level efficiency officials that were called out for their inefficiencies or efficiencies, and praised for the efficiencies, and scrutinized for the inefficiencies. And at the end of the day, there's only one person that was put on the chopping block: the fire chief of Los Angeles. So what I'm saying is that at some point it does, after the incident is over with, after we analyze things like loss of life, property loss, damage, loss of our own equipment, loss of injuries to our personnel. At the end of the day, it does all of a sudden it starts to transition over to a political conversation.
Well, once you enter a politician into the mix, for sure. But when we just talk about the fire service itself, I don't think that's political. Now you add in a mayor, a governor, aldermen and women in those things. Now you have what you have in LA, right? You have the mayor of LA, Karen Bass, coming down on the former fire chief. So that's where the politics comes in, because God forbid Karen Bass holds some accountability in what happened, because she is the authority overseeing all those different organizations, whether it's the emergency management for the city, the fire department for the city, the police department for the city, public works for the city, right? She oversees all of that, and she is the ultimate authority. Yet again, she's the one that can hold accountability and oversight over the fire chief, the police chief, emergency manager, whoever it might be underneath her, but who holds her accountable? Unfortunately, it's the voters, and they don't get the vote until another few years. So they can't hold her accountable right away like she can those other people in positions of power, like we said, the fire chief, police chief, anyone else. She
Right.
can have that instant effect versus the politician, unless recalled, which is very difficult to do, won't have that oversight, true oversight, happen for potentially years.
Yeah. Well, here, let's just, do a little bit of background on this, referring to the LA fire chief. We're talking about Kristen Crowley. She was, so on February 21st, LA fire chief Kristen Crowley, she was removed by Mayor Bass, and the mayor, citing her failure to deploy 1,000 reserve firefighters at the outset of the Palisades fire and not preparing an after action report. This is according to the Wall Street Journal, Politico, and the New York Post. Now Crowley had warned earlier back in December of 2024 that LA Fire Department, they were suffering from a nearly $18 million budget cut, which had weakened their emergency readiness. Again, this is former fire chief Kristen Crowley. Preemptive um, her preemptive efforts ahead of the wildfires had basically she had raised this flag to say that the department was suffering from an $18 million budget cut, and that it was weakening the readiness for the department. Um, and so I guess, there again, maybe there's going to be continuous debate. Maybe there's going to be continuous debate between whether or not, the former fire chief was ready for this wildfire event that was basically an urban interface fire that it basically took out not only, wildland, but of course, just, thousands of structures and tons of property damage, going beyond, the LA city borders as well. But at the end of the day, as we keep saying here, is that there's only been one person that has been put on the chopping block, and it's the fire chief. Even though that fire chief raised the flag to say they were under budget, they were in a budget deficit, and that they were suffering from that budget cut that was under the Mayor Bass administration, that they made those cuts. So now, basically, we have now coming to current status. Um, Now we have Kristen Crowley. She is, now she's speaking out, saying that this is basically a smear campaign, and to defame her, and put all the onus on the fire chief without taking any responsibility. The mayor taking without her taking any responsibility.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, unfortunately, you're the head of the department, and shit normally rolls downhill, but in this case, it rolled uphill to the number one person. When you take those positions in leadership, you take accountability, and that's one of the things you have to. It's going to land on your shoulders at the end of the day, and whether you want to shit backwards and dump it on the people beneath you, or if you're the person that is seen to be the one accountable, then that's what happens. And with this, I mean, Mayor Bass already had certain allegations against her. She failed to conduct the after action report, failed to notify the mayor of the dangerous weather event, even though how are you
Yeah.
not aware of
Yeah, there
that
was
already?
lots
I think
of
the Weather Channel, I watched that, they said something along those lines.
yeah. Yeah,
She
yeah.
failed to deploy the 1,000 spare firefighters and 40 spare fire trucks. Now that's one thing that is surprising because didn't they have quite a broken down fleet
Yeah,
and a bunch of so I mean, I don't know
yeah.
how you can deploy the 40 additional apparatus when you're under, don't have any to spare.
Right,
And
right.
your a lot of your front lines are broken down and your reserves are broken down. Yet again, when you talk about an $18 million budget deficit or an $18 million cut to the budget, that's one of those things that, yeah, I mean, 90% of your cost is the men and women that do the job, but there's still that cost for the apparatus. And if you don't have a purchase plan in place, it's not great. It's always surprised me too. I mean, you take any basic fire service management course, and they make you, at least they used to, I don't know if they do anymore, you have to develop your own budget plan, purchasing plan, especially for apparatus. That's one of
Mhm.
those things that's it's very basic at a very low level, associate's degree, um, college course that they do that. And I'd assume that Chief Crowley had much more than an associate's degree.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you
you
would
know,
hope so.
one of those things.
You would hope so, right? Leading what, the second largest of department in the, or actually, no, the third largest. LA County is, I believe, bigger as a department. But regardless, leading the third largest department in the country. Crowley, she does dispute these allegations that they were underprepared. She disputes all of that, of course, but she's stating that the firefighters and apparatus that they were already deployed, and that an after action report couldn't be completed due to the department's lack of resources. This
Well,
is
also,
being reported by the New York Post and Los Angeles 8 NBC.
it's hard to do an after action report when the action is still taking place too.
Well, sure. I
I mean,
mean,
they wanted that action after report while there was still blazing fires going on and
right.
firefighters still in the field, and it's
Yeah.
kind of hard,
Well, I think that
give you
there's
a
I think that
prelim one.
there's I think there's a lot of jargon that is not being appropriately used. Like, you and I can speak fire service lingo and understand what we're saying. I think that a person like Bass, she comes across as someone that I don't think that I think she probably heard the phrase after action report and just said, "Oh, I mean, I should throw that around like I know what I'm talking about." And really, she's got no clue, because I'll give you an example. And this is a small example. Like, I like to bring things down to planet Earth and then also bring it down to the local level and say, okay, well, if this was at the local level, and I can attest to the number of, post-incident reviews that I've done in my career, and, the big ones, the large incidents, I've had a few of those, as you're aware of.
Oh yeah,
Okay. Yeah. Right. So, I mean, okay. So when
been a
did the
part,
post-incident review, what's that?
been a
Yeah.
part of a few.
Well, you've been there, right?
Yeah.
You have been on the front line. We've been side by side. That's why we're doing what we're doing on this podcast, is that we have been side by side. And so, reflecting on whether it be an active shooter, whether it be a 4 block building on fire that just burns down, I mean, we respond, we do our job. It's a big incident. These post-ins reviews, action and after reports, whatever you want to call them, they don't just magically appear. It takes time to collect the information, collect the data, get 911 tapes, get the officers involved that were directly involved, and get their accounts of what happened. I mean, this is a process of making sure that you have all the information and all the data points that you can bring into this after action report, post incident review. Again, whatever the hot wash of hot washes. If you are doing that, it takes time, even at the smaller local level. Okay, so now let's push this thing up to the conflagration that it was. And you mean to tell me, and what are we talking about here? We're coming to the end of August here. This was back in January. I don't think it's actually that unreasonable to think that an after action report wouldn't even be maybe available for maybe a year. These things just don't happen overnight. So, and there's a lot of moving parts. Right now, for the moment, I've got I've got the former fire chief's back on this one. I think that the mayor, the administration of the city, all the way up to the governor of California, I think that they have failed that state miserably. Full stop.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far saying I've got her
Do it.
back. I've got neither person's
Do it.
back on this one. It was a shit show from top to bottom,
Yeah.
from of their leadership and from the city administration, fire administration. Let's not let them off the hook, right? I mean, she made some poor decisions as the executive of
Do you
that
think she should have been
organization.
fired?
I believe in accountability. I think she should have resigned and done it honorably, but if you want to get fired, that's
Okay.
fine too.
Okay.
You know,
But just
your
her, though?
decisions. No, not at all. I mean, there's take your administrative staff with you and the people
Yeah.
that were advising you, because they obviously gave you some bad juice too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's one of those things where, like I said, everybody wants accountability until it's time to get accountability, right? And
And
it's one of those things that listen, I believe in accountability. I've messed up a lot in my life. I've owned it. I've taken accountability. I'll continue to do it again because I guarantee I'm going to mess up again some point in my life, whether professional or personal.
right.
And all you can do is, you know, learn from that. We all make mistakes, right? This is one of those things to where this wasn't a small mistake that the fire chief made. This wasn't a small mistake that her staff made. This wasn't a small mistake on the
No, not
mayor's
at all.
part. So across the board, accountability to be had. If that means that after a, you know, stellar 25-year career, this is the one that is going to get you, then it's the one that's going to get you. And you know what? You wanted to be the chief. You put in for that position. You own it.
Yeah, you do. I got you on that one. You know, you make a great case there that you do own it. You have to own it. I guess I just go up. I go up I go up even higher than I cannot. I can't get my head around how does this mayor still have her job? How?
We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. When is the next election?
You know?
When is the.
You know, and then you know you know Gavin Newsom, all he does is I'm going to start a podcast and then I'm going to run for president.
Well, we knew when he first came out, we were talking about old tambourine man or whatever. Geez, my Mexican family's going to kill me for that, but I can't think of the term for that.
Maracas?
Yeah, I was going to say moccasins.
What?
That's totally
What's
different.
going on right now? What's happening?
Yeah, I stroked out. But we said that when he first came out and he started that podcast, the whole point of that was to bring him more towards the middle, right? Because he had gone so far to the left on the policies that he enacted in California as a governor. He was trying to become more moderate now. So that's why one of his first guests was Charlie Kirk, and that's why he had conservative people on his show.
Right,
It was
right,
to make
right.
him more moderate to the centrist voter, not
Yeah.
the Republican, not the Democrat, the
Yeah.
independent voter who thinks down the
And
middle.
can we
which
please
is
call it for what
80%
it
of the
is? That
public.
that's just a bit of the tail wagging the dog, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean, good. Come on.
yeah, and that's why
we
he did it.
know what's going on here.
Well, but now I mean, you can think he's going to be, you know, the lead candidate for it, and he might be. I mean, there's still, I mean, another year and a half left before you even start talking about presidential candidacy and who's going to be
Right.
the party's leader and that. I personally think it's going to be J.B. Pritzker, which I don't like at all. I just think the rest of, well, maybe not after when we get into more of the further discussion on the National Guard in Chicago.
That's right.
I think
That's right.
JB's shooting himself in the foot like Gavin did with the wildland fires and he did with everything else going on in California.
Well, he did. I mean, let's stay on that for a minute. I mean, he was literally asked in the streets by reporters, by his constituents, where is the water? You know, where's the water? And he wanted to, he pivoted as you, I mean, good Lord. I mean, talk about professional politics being played in the streets. He pivoted so fast and was like, well, you know, I mean, I can't fix what I don't know. And if they don't tell me and you know, oh, then it's an old system and it's not been updated. It's like, well, who do you think updates the you know, these hydrant areas? Who builds these grid systems for the water to get from point A to point B? It's not the firefighters. They don't do that. They go to the plug and they go, let's hope that some water comes out of here. Let's hope that someone else down the road did their job so that when it comes time for the criticality of the moment to be smacking us all over the face, the firefighters can get water out of the plugs.
Well, there's one
That's
thing
not Crowley's problem. That's not her fault. At least to give her at least that much.
there's one thing that Gavin's really good at. He's good at speaking, nothing.
Yeah.
He's good at answering, nothing. He's a well-spoken person at not answering questions. He's a
We're
very
gonna
good
get
politician in that sense.
we're gonna get to the bottom of the thing that we know that there is a bottom, but we're not sure where that bottom is at. But I promise you, we will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah,
There you go, Gavin Newsom.
it's a really good skill that a lot of politicians have, and I think we saw it firsthand ourselves here with a former mayor in town who was really well spoken in not answering questions. You would ask a question and he would answer your question with his own question and answer his own question that he asked himself. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, what just happened? How did this get here?
Right.
No, I asked you about this. Like, I already answered that. Move on. Next.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Got me.
I'd rather politicians say, I'm not answering that question. And it'd be like, okay, now we know. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're not going to keep asking it, but I'd rather just a straightforward, yeah, I'm not going to answer that.
They're cowards.
Okay.
I love that word, by the way. Cowards. That's what they are.
Oh, yeah.
That's
for
what
sure.
Mayor Bass is. That's
Yeah.
what Gavin Newsom is. That's what JB Pritzker is. That's what Mayor Johnson is in Chicago. They're cowards. They, everything that is going wrong, yet again, no accountability in their own areas, in their own region, in their own city, in their own state, whatever. And what do? It goes up, up, up. And who do they blame? Trump, Trump, Trump. Although no one had a problem when it was the same thing, if not worse, under the previous guy, the potato. But it is,
Like that.
you know,
I like that. Well, where we stand right now is that, as we've said, the former fire chief, she has not been reinstated. So the claim is ongoing. The claim right now is this month and this August 2025. Crowley has filed a legal claim against the city and the mayor, Mayor Bass, accusing her of defamation, retaliation, and orchestrating a smear campaign after Crowley had spoken publicly about the underfunding. And so right now, it looks like the claim is that she's seeking a retraction, an apology, and unspecified damages over $25,000, which when I read that, I was like, it's really not that big of an ask.
no.
You know what I mean? Like, I kind of actually think that that's pretty reasonable.
I would say, deal, now sign this form that you can never speak of this again.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Shake hands.
Exactly. So I think that they could, I think they might get to a deal here,
Well,
but I don't think she gets her job back.
the next mayoral election, 2026. So the residents of Los Angeles still have a few years left, or a year left. Man, I thought it was 2024. A year left
Yeah.
before they can hold people accountable
Right.
with that election. Hopefully
Right.
they do. Unfortunately, it's LA.
Right.
They won't.
Right. And
It's
you
like
would have
New
thought
York.
by now, that if there were going to be an overthrowing, like a mutiny of sort, and I don't mean like physical, I'm talking about a public outcry, that would have been, that would have happened already, that would have been enough to just push that mayor, at least to, step down, to resign herself and say, yeah, this didn't go well and this happened under my watch and I'm not going to be able to keep this post.
When you're in that position of power, why are you going to step down? You have the power. No one's going to overthrow you. No one's going to hold you accountable until the election. So you might
But
as well
that's what I
just
think.
stay in.
But I think that's what my surprise is. My surprise is that we're talking about a population of what's the population of LA? I think I know the area is like 5 million, right? I don't exactly know the number of millions in the city of LA. But again, I'm talking about the voting constituents in LA City. I guess I would have been surprised that they would have been, they would have wanted blood after this.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little just surprised by that for some
Yeah.
reason.
I mean, I'm not. How can you be? I mean,
Yeah.
look.
Yeah. I feel like you're at a point now, you're like, nothing surprises me anymore.
No, not with that. Right. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, with the population there and the values or beliefs of that population, it's deep blue. It's going to continue to be deep blue. And unless there's some socialist communist that runs against her, they're going to vote for her again.
Right.
Unless she runs for something else. Unless she runs for governor, because Gavin can't be governor again. That's why he's running for mayor. Or, I'm sorry, president. That'd be weird. Go the other way.
Yeah, exactly. Really, he can't run for another.
I don't think so. I think his terms are done. I mean, it's kind of like DeSantis, unless he just knows he's not gonna win again.
I guess I was unaware that there was a set limit of how long someone
Maybe
could
not.
be.
It is California, right? They
Yeah,
do it
I don't
for
know.
life.
Is there maybe we can ask our bot in the, studio if you can check out Aaron, or can you let us know how
I
many
get
times.
Gavin is not running for reelection due to term limits. Wow, it's surprising that California has term
I did not
limits.
know that. I didn't know that there was term limits out there.
Sick. Yeah, they have term limits. Second term governor. That's kind of like DeSantis in
Well,
Florida. He won't
I'm
be
gonna
able to
give
run
them good
again.
on that because I mean, there's not much I can say about California that I find to be fascinating, other than the ocean, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Well, I think maybe I'm curious when the term limits got put in, probably around Reagan time. The last good governor of California.
This episode is brought to you by Strike the Box Cigars, Pipes, and Tobacco. Whether you're a seasoned aficionado or just starting your journey into the world of fine tobacco, Strike the Box has what you need. From the finest cigars to premium loose leaf tobacco, Strike the Box delivers on quality in a welcoming space where you can enjoy a smoke and good company. Additionally, Strike the Box specializes in vintage pipe restoration. We're talking estate pipes brought back to life with craftsmanship that borders on art. Got Grandpa's old briar gathering dust? Let the crew at Strike the Box make it smoke like new. Check out their full list of vintage pipes for sale at striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois. Soak in the aroma and talk shop with real tobacco lovers from the American Fire Service. Strike the Box, where fire, flavor, and tradition meet. Again, that's striketheboxpipeandcigar.com or swing by the shop located at 6935 11th Street, New Milford, Illinois.
So, speaking of governors, and you did bring up Pritzker earlier, Pritzker was out having a little conversation today. He was surrounded by the mayor of Chicago and Senator Dick Durbin and a bunch of other city officials in Chicago, and they're up in arms a little bit about the proposition that President Trump is signaling that he plans to deploy the National Guard into Chicago, framing they're saying that it's necessary to combat the rampant crime. Obviously, you and I both have lived very near to Chicago. I would greatly argue that, well, the city that you still work for, the city that I formerly worked for, got a lot of that action and overflow out of that city, touching our municipality.
Yeah.
To be specific, Chicago is a shit show. It's
Well, it's
the gun violence, the shootings, the homicides. Yeah, they're something.
it's no different than DC, and I'll even say this: I grew up,
It
on the
is
border
different than
of
DC.
Chicago.
I'll go ahead, keep going. Sorry.
I will say I look at it the same way as the city of Rockford. If you're not from Rockford, you're not allowed to speak poorly of Rockford. So I'll give them that, right? If we're saying it's bad, but the stats speak for themselves too. Like at least I
Hmm.
can be honest and say that Rockford has a crime problem that has decreased over the years, and one of the previous police chiefs did a whole lot to do that to bring that down. Um, but there's still an issue. We have to be honest with ourselves. Chicago's just never going to be honest with themselves. They squander all the money. They control the entire state, right? That little pocket of the state runs the entire state of Illinois, and it's their
Yeah.
mismanagement that has put the entire state into a tough spot over the past decade. So it's one of those things. But when you want to talk about the federal troops going yet again, the Chicago Police Department's down about approximately 2,000 law enforcement officers
Right.
there. No different than how DC is below their staffing number of about 1,000. So yet again, it's that deterrent on the street to help with the crime. It's working in DC since 2 weeks ago when Trump deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C. There has been zero homicides since August 13th, zero murders.
Let's repeat that. There has been no homicides in DC since the National Guard has gone in there There's been no homicides since August 13th. Now,
Yeah.
come on.
So, and the rest of the crime rate is down.
Yeah, right. It's all down across the board.
Well, and that's one of the things that you have, there's a lot of activists in Chicago and gun violence survivors from Chicago. The fact that there's actually organizations of gun violence survivors shows you that there's obviously an issue with gun violence in Chicago. It's not
Yeah.
the gun show loophole that people drive over to Indiana and buy guns. That's not a real thing. That doesn't happen. What happens is they're illegally obtained firearms. It's not the law-abiding citizens, even though Chicago used to be one of the strictest in the country with their gun laws. Fortunately, the state changed those things, and now New York is probably worse than Chicago is. But Chicago, for the longest time, had some of the highest gun violence rates, and still do. Those are by illegal firearms, not law-abiding citizens. And you can look around the country, and I'm sure there's stats out there that show that those open carry or even concealed carry areas are a lot safer because those illegal criminals doing the bad things are probably more aware of what the consequences could be if they choose to do gun violence. But like I said, with the gun violence survivors, there's a lot of them that are blasting Trump and saying it's not going to make Chicago safer. Well, I think all we have to do is point to D.C. and show
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
that's probably not the case. I think it will probably make Chicago much safer. Now, yet again, people don't want the militaristic look to it, but they've been saying that about law enforcement officers, community police officers, city police officers, state police officers. For the past 20 years, they've been talking about how they're militarized now and they have these firearms, they have this gear, and they have this. It's like, well, that was a reaction to what's going on. Yet again, deploying the National Guard is a reaction to what's been happening in Chicago for the past 50 fucking years. Can we be serious for a minute and say, you haven't done your job protecting your citizens, so now we're going to. I think most citizens in Chicago probably aren't going to be too upset about getting additional support and making the community safer. Yet again, with the gun violence survivors, unfortunately, some of them are tied to NGOs and organizations, and they want the resources. So they think that additional resources are going to make it safer. Unfortunately, just like the city of Chicago public school system, the amount of money that they spend per student is much more than some of the suburbs and some of the richer suburbs too, I might add. Per student spending is much higher in Chicago, but yet again, the test scores and the education rates and the graduation rates are much lower than comparable areas. You have the resources. We've given you the resources. I guess it's not the resources. I guess we need to make some policies in place that are actually going to change this.
So who owns the accountability in this scenario? If we just talked about in the previous segment about how the buck stops, we're talking about a conflagration fire event that happened in LA and the surrounding area. And basically so far, the only one that, has had to swallow the accountability has been the former fire chief. Swing over to Chicago, and now we're talking about the gun violence and just violence in the generalistic. And again, I think, we've talked about this in previous episodes. Like, let's be clear that we are discussing the topic of violence that make people fear for their lives. That could be carjackings, that can be muggings, that can be assault, in any fashion that makes you fear for your life to some degree. I'm not talking that somebody came with you with no toenail clippers, but coming at you in the way that's like, hey, they intend to rob you of your money, rob you of your vehicle, rob you of your safe, your safety, and then go a little bit further and cause you physical harm to yourself. Go even further than that, taking life. This is happening at such a rate, and they want to keep. Of course, they want to tell us that the crime is down. Of course they do. Of course they want to say that the homicides are down. And I know that they change the headers. They change the column that this once was in. This crime was in this column. They move it over here, and now that statistic in that column drops. Who owns this right now? Is it the mayor of Chicago? Is it the governor of Illinois? Who owns it?
I would say it's the politicians, from top down, governor to state reps, state senators, that own this, because here in Illinois, we have a little thing called the Safety Act that went into place a year or two back.
Right.
Which definitely changed how Chicago can prosecute and hold these criminals, especially, Trump just signed to get rid of cashless bail. What did we see? We see these lesser and lesser, and we talked about in the last week's episode, lesser and lesser punishments for these crimes, lesser and lesser bail being set, or if any bail is even set. So, a perfect example was there was just a Chicago man, kind of like Florida man, but we're going to go to Chicago man now. We should make that a trend. Chicago man arrested on firearm charges and fleeing police. So, Aaron, I sent you an email with article. Chicago man arrested in firearms and other charges, according to released Lee County Sheriff's Office on August 24th, approximately 9:40 p.m. Deputy from Lee County Sheriff's Office was assisting Dixon Police Department in attempting to locate a vehicle that had fled from Dixon police officers. Deputy saw the vehicle on North Peoria Avenue in the area of Dixon High School. Deputy attempted to traffic stop on the vehicle, was heading southbound Peoria Avenue. The vehicle sped to 55 miles per hour in 30 mile per hour zone, disobeyed stop sign at Peoria Avenue and 2nd Street, stop sign at Peoria Avenue and 3rd Street. Vehicle collided with another vehicle while disregarding the stop sign at Peoria Avenue and 3rd Street. Search of the vehicle revealed a firearm. So here is a Chicago man arrested and charged with aggravated unlawful possession of a weapon, Class 4 felony, aggravated fleeing, attempting to elude peace officer, Class 4 felony, possession of a firearm without requisite FOID card, Class A misdemeanor, possession of firearm ammunition without FOID card, Class A misdemeanor, no valid driver's license, operating an uninsured motor vehicle, speeding 21 to 25 over the speed limit, and improper lighting. In accordance with the Safety Act, he was released. What the? So that's what I'm talking about. When
Are you
who's
saying
accountable? The governor and the state legislature. For
Are
sure,
you saying
100%.
that this individual was not following the no gun ordinance in Chicago?
Yeah, crazy. Well,
Is that
he
what
wasn't
you're
in
saying?
Chicago, so to be fair, he was in Lee County. That's a few counties
County,
over
okay,
from Cook
okay,
County. But
okay.
you
But in
ask
Chicago,
who's
you-
accountable?
yeah.
You ask
But you
who's
said
accountable?
Chicago man.
The governor.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing here is we need to make change. The Safety Act in Illinois is just a complete shit show. The citizens don't want it. You know who wants it? Chicago man. Chicago man wants it. Chicago man runs this state from top down. That's what it is. Where's J.B. Pritzker from? Chicago.
Yep.
You look at the entire administration. Where are they from? Chicago. And we say Chicago, it's the 100 miles outside of Chicago, too, the surrounding suburbs, the Cook County, which we call Crook County.
Crook County, yeah, for
frankly,
sure.
it's great.
Yeah.
That's who these people are.
Yeah.
That's
for
who's
sure.
That's the accountability.
For
But
sure.
what do? We continue to elect them. But unfortunately, the Republicans here aren't any better. Rauner was no good to public
This doesn't
safety.
surprise me that Hakeem Jeffries says this, but what do you think about him accusing Trump of, quote unquote, manufacturing a crisis for political theater? What do you think about that? Is Trump manufacturing a crisis? How do you square that with, okay, is he? Well, then what happened in D.C.? And why do we see a direct correlation between the deployment of the National Guard and a immediate drop in violence?
This episode of the original Firefighter podcast is sponsored by Castle Contracting. Castle Contracting offers commercial and residential restoration, leading the industry in roofing, residential siding, gutters and downspouts, egress window installation, storm damage assessment and repair, and solar energy, saving you money and time. If you want to be treated like royalty, contact Castle Contracting to schedule a free inspection. Call them at 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. That's 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. Serving Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, Castle Contracting has you covered. Your home is your castle. Call Castle Contracting today.
Well, the biggest thing is it was not a manufactured crisis. It was a crisis. We just dug our
Absolutely.
heads into the ground and ignored it and hoped one day it would all go away. Well, without action, nothing's going to happen.
These Chicago politicians are claiming that and again, if you want to go off the stats, they're claiming that the trend is moving in the downward direction for violence and shootings and homicides. In Chicago, they're claiming that violent crime decreased by 30% in 2025. That recent stats are showing that homicides are down 32% compared to last year. But again, it's like, okay, but if you have 6,000 shootings and they drop by 30%, you still have a lot of shootings. I mean, what is it that you're tolerating here?
Well, that's what it is. The tolerance is so high because we've allowed it to get that high. Right. I mean, for so long, it's been building. I think most people are at their breaking point with it, and unfortunately,
but isn't that what we're all saying? Isn't that what the majority of us are saying? Is that we're sick of it?
For sure. But unfortunately, Hakeem Jeffries, and I'll just say the Democrat Party because he is the face of the Democratic Party right now.
Yep.
I mean, he's the
Mr. Potato
minority,
Head.
the minority
and another potato head.
Yeah, there you go. He's the minority leader of the Democratic Party, so we'll refer to what he said as what the Democrats are saying.
Sure.
So, yeah, they think it's okay. That's how they get votes. That's how they buy their votes. I mean, when you want to give convicted felons, especially violent felons, the right to vote again, there's certain things you lose certain rights, and you should never get them back.
When you're down 2,000 police officers, how do you think that you don't just get that back over? You don't just snap your finger and go, okay, now we've got full staff again. That doesn't happen overnight. In fact, I don't even know how long it's going to take for them if they will recover. So who else is going to do it? And again, I guess that's where I go, I rarely do people want to swallow the medicine when they don't admit that they're sick. And this is a violent sickness across the board, almost in every major city in America. It's gotten out of hand. This is you said, DC and Chicago, aren't that different. I did push back. I'm like, but I think they are different. It's the third largest city in the country. It's supposed to be a mecca of awesomeness to go, for us to go out and visit, the United States of America. Where do you think to go? If you are a person of travel, hey, maybe you're an outdoors person and you just want to be like, I just want to be in Alaska with the grizzly bears. It's like, okay, fine. But there's lots and lots of people who want to travel to New York City. They want to travel to Chicago. They want to travel to LA. They want to go there and they want to be around the influx of culture and the food and the music and the vibrance of these communities. And when you think for a moment, you go, maybe I'm not going to take that trip to Chicago because, yeah, they say the crime's down, but it's still pretty bad. That's what's wrong is we're being too passive about this. We're just, like you say, like they've come to accept that this is just kind of like the new reality. So when the crime drops, they all go, hey, look at me. I did a good job. It's like, but you didn't do the whole job.
Yeah. Well, what's crazy is Pritzker saying that Trump is waging war on poor people. So you're saying poor people are the criminals? Is that what you're saying? Because that's what we're there for. It's no different than Joe Biden misspeaking. I'll give him that as, what do you say? Black kids are just as smart as white kids or something along those lines, right? Like, it's like, no one said they weren't.
Yeah,
you're the one making that correlation.
Or what was the other one? If you vote for Trump, then you're not black.
Yeah,
it's like what? Like, how does that even become a phrase or a thought that pops in your head? Let alone one that you actually speak,
right,
out loud.
So, got it. So Pritzker saying that poor people are criminals. Got it. That's what I
Right.
take away from that.
Well, sure, of course.
That's what I'm figuring out, because if he's waging war on crime is what he's doing, and you're saying he's waging war on poor people. So
Yeah. Well, and it's another way, it's classic politicians, and again, the Democrats do this best, is where they use the poor people as the appropriate needed pawn for the moment that they find themselves in.
yeah,
It's
we
always
just
it's always this, if you do this, you're going to hurt the poor, and it's like, well, maybe you should be helping the poor out in your own community.
right. Well, it's no different than a month ago they were saying immigrants, right? It's like, no, not immigrants, illegal immigrants,
Right.
right?
To
You're
go as far in the Trump administration. I mean, I listened to the press conferences, and they come right out, and they call them illegal aliens. They're using the phrasing. All this stuff is starting to get what do I keep seeing is that the country is healing. You know, I don't know if that's true. I'll wait and see. Let's not go too far, and let's make sure that some of these things actually stick.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll say it right now. We don't hate the media enough. And I'll say it again, I'm sure another time in this podcast. We don't hate the media enough. That's all. This picture here
Agreed.
that we've got on the screen with Pritzker and Mayor Johnson. See the priest in the background there?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who he is?
I don't.
That's Father Flager from St. Sabina. He's a turd.
Give us the color. What's going on there? I don't know. You got to give us a little bit of the background on that.
That's it. He's been in trouble with the Catholic Church for many, many years, and he should have been stripped many, many times over. I just not a fan. He is so I mean, this kind of can roll into the next segment too. He's a grifter. He is a race baiter. He turns, creates a conflict between races. That's what he is. Some people might say that he's just pointing out the discrepancies. No, he's literally doing it to make controversy and to harm race relations, in my opinion. He's been doing it since the 80s. Growing up in that area, my grandfather, not a fan of him. Not a fan. My grandmother, same thing. So, they have their reasons. Hardcore Mexican Catholics there, and not a fan of the white guy telling them how to live. So
Yeah.
we'll leave that there, I guess. But if we want to talk about a grifter and a race baiter, there's no one better than Joyless Reed from the old MSNBC, the Readout. Is what she
Preach,
used
brother,
to do.
preach.
Yeah. So if you see the shirt I'm wearing here, is my Elvis shirt. This lady has gone completely insane. She sees her popularity starting to dwindle, so what does she do? She creates controversy with an iconic figure such as Elvis Presley himself, the King. I will call him the King, and I will always call him the King because he is the king of rock and roll. The reason, well, I guess we can let her explain. We can watch her real quick and get her feedback, and then I'll give my feedback.
They can't fix the history they did. Their ancestors made this country into a slave hell. But they can clean it up now because they got the Smithsonian. They can get rid of all the slavery stuff. They got PragerU that can lie about the history to the children. They can't originally invent anything more than they ever were able to invent good music. We black folk gave y'all country music, hip hop, R&B, jazz, rock and roll. They couldn't even invent that, but they have to call a white man the king, because they couldn't make rock and roll. So they have to stamp the king on a man whose main song was stolen from an overweight black woman.
Well, unfortunately, the reason she went on that rant against the king of rock and roll is because Donald Trump likes him. So anything that Donald Trump likes, we hate, right? That's one of the biggest things. But also the fact that, do you know what that video podcast was titled? How mediocre white men and their fragility are destroying America. I would say that Elvis Presley was nothing, would never be considered mediocre by any means.
Right, or fragile.
or fragile, right? But way to go attack dead people because they can't defend themselves. So I'm here to defend the king of rock and roll himself. So a few misleading things she said there. When she referred to an overweight black woman and he stole her song. First off, you're correct, Joy Liss Reed. She did sing the song first in 1952. It was not her song. It was written by two white men, Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller. So they wrote the song. She sang initially. She had moderate success with it, over 500,000 copies sold of that. And then Elvis sang it. And the song they're referring to is Hound Dog. Now, the female she's referring to is a phenomenal voice, right? So I don't want to take anything away from her. And I'll actually say her name, Willie Mae Big Mama Thornton, is who she's referring to, not just some overweight black woman like she degraded her as. Actually, she could have said her name, and maybe she did. Maybe she did at some point during that interview. I'll take 40 seconds, and that's enough joyless read for me in my life at this point. But phenomenal voice, phenomenal blues singer. If you haven't heard her version of Hound Dog, it's great. But obviously, we all know Elvis Presley's version of it. He was the king of rock and roll. He's not the king of rock and roll because he invented rock and roll, right? He's not the king of rock and roll because he's a white man. He's the king of rock and roll because he sold the most amount of records and was the most popular rock and roll musician at that time.
Yes.
That's why he's the king of rock and roll. No different than Michael Jackson did not invent pop music. Who was Michael Jackson? He was the king of pop. Why is he called the king of pop? Because he was the most popular pop singer in the world.
Right?
I mean, they're not calling
Thriller remained on the top 10 charts, top number one album for like, what, it was 5 years, 7 years? It was a long time.
Here's some things with Elvis Presley, with what he accomplished. He is, according to Billboard, over estimated 500 million records sold worldwide. 500 million records sold worldwide, right? 79 cumulative weeks at number one. Alone at 80, according to Whitburn in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, with only Mariah Carey having more than him with 91 weeks at number one. So totally different genres right there, right? So as a rock and roll artist, Elvis Presley's number one there. He has the Recording Industry Association of America credits him with 146.5 million certified album sales in the U.S., third all time behind the Beatles and Garth Brooks. Well, Garth Brooks can't be the king of rock and roll because he's country, and unfortunately, a band can't be the king. So that's why Elvis Presley is the king. Just so many things that he has, which is why he's considered one of the greatest of all time. No one could shake their hips like he could. No one had a voice like he had. And yet again, why did he want to do that song? Because he loved gospel, he loved blues, he loved jazz, and he wanted to bring that music of the African-American culture to a wider audience. It was out of respect. It was out of love. It's what he wanted to do. And that's no different than Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller, who wrote Hound Dog. They connected because of their love of blues and R&B and jazz.
Aren't we all able to think about where we came from, what our background was, what our family history is? Think back into your life and go, when I was a kid, I grew up on this. And then when I became older, I made it my own. Doesn't that just happen all the time? Isn't that what it just repeats and repeats? It gets founded in something. And as you point out, this to me sounds like, hey, there was some collaboration here going on. The song was written and then it was sung. And it looks to me like it was a white and black, a black and white effort, however you want to say it. But at the end of the day, it sounds to me like both ethnicities touched this subject, touched this particular song. And why is that? Why can't we just why cannot we get along that way? Why can't we be like, why can't we just get along?
Because of our white male fragility. According
because
to
of
Joy
our
Reid,
white
that's
male
why.
fragility. And I do want to just call back to since we did bring it up, Michael Jackson, Thriller. His album spent the most consecutive weeks at the number one position on the Billboard 200 charts, and he still holds that spot today. So good job on the King of Pop, and good job on the King of Rock and Roll. And Joyless Reed, you can, you know,
Yet again, I'll
go
say it
away.
again. We don't hate the media enough.
Right.
She is the media. She has
Right.
been the media. She's been a privileged person her entire adult life.
I
She
guess
can pound
we
sand.
have this post up, and we'll give credit where it's due. Ben Shapiro put this out, that Joy Reid says that white people can't originally invent anything, just steal from black people. And I read that and I think, why? How did she get away with saying that? I mean, you'd be run up a flagpole if you said something like that on the opposite side.
She is a racist.
Yeah, that's what I'm
She's a
saying. I
racist.
mean, you are a racist, and that's someone out there is probably going to call me a racist.
But you're a racist because you called her a racist doesn't
Sure.
make you a
I mean,
racist.
that's what I'm
right?
saying.
I mean,
We
her
trade
beliefs
arrows.
make her a racist.
That's
She
exactly what I'm
believes that-
driving at in this point. Is we're just trading arrows, and you're not gaining any ground. How about if we just put the freaking bow down, stop shooting the arrows, and think about the fact that there is a lot for us to think that does bring us together. It can help us to bind together. You can give credit where credit is due on both sides.
Just so you know, maybe we should start being like her. Not racist, but just start being like her because she's amassed over 168,000 followers on Substack. What the hell? She's one of the most popular authors on Substack.
Yeah.
That's insane. This person who spouts off, who doesn't know what she's talking about, yet again, she said he stole the song from an overweight black woman, which he didn't do because it wasn't her song. It was written by two other people who happened to be white men. Yet again, were they influenced by the African American culture and their music? Absolutely.
Yeah.
No one's denying that.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should just bring this part together by saying we suggest at Original Firefighter that listen to all of them and enjoy it. Listen to the original Hound Dog, listen to some Elvis, and if you like pop, swing over to Michael Jackson because he still put out some damn good stuff. Nice, that's good.
That's a classic
great.
cover. I love the one where the Clash did something similar with the colors.
Yeah.
For the London Calling album. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I was at the stuff now.
Where can I get that t-shirt? Well, we got the answer. Go to originalfirefighter.com where you will find any of the t-shirts or hats that you see us wearing on the show. For every purchase at originalfirefighter.com, we give 5% back to supporting mental health and wellness for first responders. Go to originalfirefighter.com, join in the community, join in and become an original firefighter.
Do you want to end off on a fun note?
Please.
We can all laugh.
Let's do it.
So in New York City, Zoran Mamdani was a part of Men's Day out there. And it was awesome as can be. So we have some videos, we have some Twitters that we're going to throw up here that I think will make us all laugh, and we can make fun of him because he's a communist socialist and a weakling. Arnold Schwarzenegger would
He's a little fragile.
Pump him up. So apparently 135 pound bench press.
Right.
And
it was a little too much for him.
But I love that Andrew Cuomo and Eric Adams both responded and posted the video. So this is the actual video that was taken. So we'll play that out and I just watch it. Just enjoy. He's all pumped up. He's ready to go with his, nice button-down shirt on and his dress shoes at a Men's Day event. 135 on the bar here.
Man, that looks heavy.
Poor hand placement. You need two people to straighten it out.
Yeah.
Let's turn.
So far, this is the Tim Walz version of how to load a shotgun.
Yep. I would definitely. Yeah.
Oh boy, we got a spotter on it.
I mean, he's fully holding this thing. So in the background, you can hear him like, "Give me three," and he's now two was good enough for him. 135 two times. I got to imagine he weighs about 180, 185 probably.
Yeah.
Not to be able to bench your own body weight as a young man at the age of 33, pretty embarrassing. But I love that Andrew Cuomo responded, it's easy to talk. It's hard to carry the burden. This guy can't bench his own body weight, let alone carry the weight of leading the most important city in the world.
Good
Mr. Nipple
on-
Rings.
I don't say this often, but good on Cuomo for jumping on that.
I'll say this, Mr. Nipple Rings might have some nipple rings, but I mean, him and his brother, they hit the weights.
Well, they're buff, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep. And then so Eric Adams, the current mayor, 64 versus 33, that's their ages. Lifetime of hard work versus a silver spoon. The results speak for themselves. The weight of the job is too heavy for Mom Scrawny. The only thing he can lift are your taxes.
Well, I can say this, Zoran is not going to find himself chopping on a roof anytime soon.
Yeah. But if you look, so Eric Adams pumping him out there, same weight, right? 135, not a whole lot. Eric Adams also 64 years old, 31 years older. And if you look at his spotter, it's just the fingers. You're not lifting much weight. You're kind of just a guide at that point. But Mom Donnie, man, that guy had a full grip on that bar there. So good stuff. New York's going to fail, and they're going to vote this knucklehead in.
Yes, they are.
Zoran Mom Scrawny. Love it. Gotta love it. Love to see it. Love to see
the nicknames continue, and we're here for it.
Oh yeah.
One of the things that we want to ask our listeners and viewers, don't forget, as we're getting deeper into the year of 2025, you can go to originalfirefighter.com and you can pick up some of our merch. We've got hats, T-shirts. We're coming into October, will be upon us soon. And we do here at Original Firefighter, we like to think about those who suffer from cancer, breast cancer, testicular cancer, thyroid cancer, for firefighters especially, because those are the top three that are hurting us. So in the month of October, we do have a beanie hat. It's got the eagle that is on my hat here, which is our logo for Original Firefighter. That does show up on this light gray beanie. Go there, purchase it. We make donations to 4-3 Sisters during the month of October to help out for cancer research and the benefit to help those in need for cancer research and treatment. And then remember that any purchase at Original Firefighter, we do give back 5% to great causes. We want to be here for those in the fire service. We want to be here there for your family. And as always, thanks for listening and watching, and be safe.
This has been the Original Firefighter Podcast. Thanks for watching and listening. Tune in each week on Wednesdays for a new episode. Like and follow us on all social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel today.